started. Yeah, hi everyone. Some updates on the protocol side. Basically, the approach we're taking now, we started to develop SDK so that it's easier to interact with protocol, the JavaScript SDK, because it's been a pain to interact directly. It's something along the lines what the team from the org tried to achieve, and also there was another project on the hackathon recently. I don't remember what that was really.
The RarePress? RarePress? Are you talking about them?
Yes, WordPress.
Yeah, that's Skogard who's on the call.
Yeah, Skogard is here.
That's me.
Yeah. So we started to develop SDK internally with the team. There is just one person working on it, so it might worth to join forces. But in general, we started to bring other marketplaces to the protocol. So now right now we're trying to index all the sales that are happening across the blockchain, so that our aggregation functions should return not only the trending collections on Rarible, but on other trending collections as well. So that might help with discovery, and hopefully soon we'll be able to aggregate orders from other marketplaces as well. So protocol will be useful not only for trading, so like more liquidity basically, not only liquidity from Rarible, but aggregating liquidity from other places as well. So those being main upgrades. We've touched on the initial royalty for the lazy minted items. The protocol was working that way that you didn't receive royalties on the lazy mint items. And that's mostly it. There are also some experiments about making bids in ETH. So to lock your funds with the bid, no need to convert to double ETH and make approval, just like lock your funds. And that hopefully brings orders on chain as well. So easier chain to chain, like contract to contract interaction. Yeah, and we're also working on meta transactions to be able to deploy on Polygon. So that's helpful. And basically any other EVM compatible chain. So if we can run Indexer, all we will need to do to adopt any chain is to deploy contracts and run Indexer. So Moonbeam, probably Neon EVM on Near. There is some EVM on Solana. ZK Sync is doing ZK EVM. So basically any EVM chain would be available, and I think that's awesome.
Any updates from your end, Eugene, that you want to add in addition to that? All right, he just joined. I'm not sure if he's here, but yeah, we can just open it up for questions. I know Skogard, you've been asking a lot of questions around, you know, the protocol and okay, no sound. Okay. You've been asking a lot of questions around the protocol and you know, open sourcing aspects of it, things like that. So you know,
yeah. So basically, I like, in my opinion, like the biggest, like the most high priority thing is right now, like theoretically, Rarible protocol is decentralized, and that's what makes it super powerful. But still, it still has to like go through Rarible endpoint. So like, and that part is not like clear, like what's happening underneath. And I think once that part becomes open source, it's going to be like, as a developer, like building some tools on top of the protocol, I could actually like tell people, like one of the most frequently asked questions that I've been talking to like some NFT developers, and they like the first question I get is like, oh, like, are you gonna build this thing for like OpenSea and Foundation and all these other marketplaces? And what I would like to respond is, oh, like you just forget about all these centralized marketplaces. Like the whole point is that we're building on top of this decentralized protocol. So we just built once for the decentralized protocol, and all these marketplaces would be, it would be simple for them to integrate. So theoretically, like that is true, but because that part is not really like yet open, I can't really say that. Like, and everybody just kind of like has to depend on this API, and also like another factor is that I actually want to be able to contribute to this backend and like know like how it's working. And a lot of times when something goes wrong and like it's completely black box, so I don't know what's going on. So I have to like wait for like, I know you guys are busy, and like I don't want to like bombard you with all these questions and just keep waiting for it. So it would be great if uh it's not even like even like the indexer part. I think Rarible is like that's the like competitive advantage as a marketplace to have like all this liquidity aggregated. But I think like the only part that needs to be open is like the how because the API, front-end API creates like a signed message and submits to the Rarible endpoint, and then it stores it somehow, like indexes it somehow. But at the end of the day, what happens is that it takes that message and submits it to the blockchain. So I think like that part, like how to communicate with the blockchain with the smart contract, like just that part being open source would be really helpful. Like we don't even really need like a like indexer to be open sourced or like all these other things, database or whatever. Just like a really simple library that's like, even I think it could even be like a stateless library, like a function call. But I think that would be really powerful, and we could actually make a case that like Rarible is completely decentralized because anybody could run this. But all the liquidity would be aggregated towards Rarible anyway, because it's much more convenient. Yeah, so that was what I wanted to bring up.
There's a lot there.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Sorry, I'm a bit late. About this thing, how we post this information to blockchain, I think that's easy. It's kind of part of an SDK that I was talking about lately. And actually this week we have a progress on this. We almost we finished some parts of it. We are not ready to open source it right now, but I can give anyone access to our GitHub repository if you want. So yeah, for this. And also, if you, for example, know and love TypeScript, you can help us if you want. So just let me know. You can DM me.
Skolgar is actually working on the SDK as well.
Yeah,
so
yeah, my goal is like more towards like building like a value add systems that would like make it easy for NFT builders to build on the right now it starts out as like a SDK looking like system, but I'm building things that will be helpful for like all NFT developers, so like people could easily post to Rarible. So yeah, I mean, like it looks like SDK now, but I think it'll kind of like evolve towards more like a value add stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So so Eugene, you suggested adding some devs to the SDK repo you're working on. Is that kind of?
Sorry, Eric, could you repeat, please?
I guess I'm wondering, Skogard, would that kind of address the issue, even though it's not open source yet, and we're kind of working our way there?
I mean, like I'm not in like super hurry. I just want to make sure that it gets open sourced soon, so that I can like sell it to all these like developers who are thinking about building on top of the protocol. I just want to get to a point where I can say that, oh, like forget about building, like, because right now if you think about minting like NFTs with like royalties and things like that, you still have to like use these like centralized APIs, and the whole point of the Rarible protocol was that that part is like it can go on chain. So that's like that's all I need. Like I do hope that it'll become open source soon, but I'm not like in super hurry, because like even if I get access to the repo, if the project is not open source, it's not like it doesn't help me with the like the narrative, like telling people that it's like, oh, forget about other like centralized approaches.
I do really agree with the narrative. I mean the entire crypto space. I mean all of life in general. It's just narratives, and if we can paint the right narrative, I do think it's a huge competitive advantage that we'll have just from a position point of view. So I do really like that narrative. And I would
Yeah, because like just listening to all these questions like people are asking, it's not just like one or two people. I've talked to like several people who are all like asking exactly the same question, like, are you going to build it for OpenSea Foundation and like all these other things? And so basically from their point of view, Rarible protocol, even though it's like decentralized, it's still just an API. So they see it as just another platform to build on top of. So like the best thing that could happen to this is by like completely like not playing this game. Like it's not about like creating a centralized platform. It's a protocol, and have to like go on and on it.
Okay, so what do I hear here is like two main questions. The first one is the narrative question. Like we want to be decentralized, we want to be open, we want to be accessible. And it's a lot to unpack here. So I'll start with the second one. The second one is basically what happens on the minting side, right? And you're saying that you still need to call an API to mint an item. And I can probably explain how it works to make it simpler. It's not necessary to call an API to mint an item. So we have a smart contract, the ERC 721 and 1155 smart contract that you can mint in. In order to mint, you need to call mint and transfer function, and that's it. So that's on chain. If you want to use a lazy mint item instead, so you do use the API, but again, it's not necessary. So what lazy mint item is, it's not something else than just an order that has all the metadata inside that order, so that once that order is fulfilled, the contract means an item. So it's the same structure order that has the metadata inside it, and you submit it to the protocol, and when you accept that order, it gets created. We created a helper function that stores that data for you and represents that data as an item, as like a virtual item on the backend to be accessible in all the listing and indexing. And then when you try to create an order for it, it just fills this order field with the item metadata for you. I don't know how clear that part is. Like, do you want me to add something more to it?
No, I mean, like, I think I already understand like how it kind of works, but it's just that like that part is, I can't just like directly use, I have to like, for example, like getting a token ID every, like whenever I do lazy minting, I have to get token ID, and then I have to make a get request to the token ID endpoint. Well,
It's all, this one is also a helper function though. The
yeah.
token ID is your address and then the random number after that, or increasing number, just any number that.
Oh, I can use any number?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the point. That I think we need to understand a little bit better, or have some documentation on exactly how this behaves in the back. Because like for us, we were asking, Guy was asking, like for example, the story on the creators, like how many you can have and how does it work, because there is interesting things that you can do if you understand better the system. So at least I think in the short term, having a bit better documentation on those details of the backend help works, or at least the helper function works. Of course, knowing exactly how the lazy minting exactly is, it's even better. But for the short term, understand how the helper works already help us speed up a lot. And again, agreeing completely with Skogard also for the narrative. But like you said, it's also a different scale of scope.
I made the call in the developer group for the person who might work full time on that. We're looking for a person like that, the technical writer that might help us to document all things. So if you know anyone, please refer them. It might be junior developer who can write an example code, or it might be non-technical person, but the person needs to be able to understand how the protocol works. At least with our help, we would tell the person how it works, and then the person need to unpack that in English, like extended with all the technical details. So we're looking for a person like that. I'd love to get back to the narrative question. So it's actually like several things needs to be solved there. We can open source protocol. We can open source this part, although like it needs to be. I was breaking up a little bit, probably. Yeah, it needs to be prepared, and I think the core part here is that there is actually an off-chain order book. So these orders are stored somewhere on a server off-chain that has an index of all those orders. And in order to make that decentralized, so imagine you run the same service. Now, which API do you need to call in order to get an order book, an order from the order book? Is it ours or yours? Do people now have the fragmented on their book? So if we open source that, we also need to prepare some distributed system for these nodes to communicate. It almost works like a blockchain. I know Compound launched their own blockchain because there are nodes that are communicating with each other. They're sending each other things, and it can be incentivized by Rarible to launch that node and serve access to that. So it's a long-term goal where we want to get, really.
I think you could look at it like the simpler. So like even if somebody has like built a system like off-chain order book, they will submit to a Rarible because they get more exposure that way. Like, and people expect to have like a token attached to their Rarible account. So you don't have to like build like a distributed system just for that. Like it's like naturally incentivized for people to submit to Rarible, even when they have a off-chain order book. And yeah, I mean, like just like very incentivizing with very also could be a good idea. But if you're concerned about like fragmentation, you could have like a license that says that like, oh, we're gonna open it up, but like don't fragment it. Like when if you even if you have like off-chain order book, you like submit to Rarible so we can aggregate all these liquidity. Because
Yeah.
I think every developer like wants a Rarible to succeed. Like we're all in this together. They're not like trying to fork or anything. So it just needs like a structure to like in place.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Another point is like the system is fairly complex. I don't know, might be Evgeny can briefly touch on that, but how many resources do you need to deploy the system right now? It's just, it's like 5 microservices, you need a database, you need like even DevOps experience is hard. So ideally it should work.
Yeah.
Yeah, ideally it should, yeah, okay, Evgeny, can you cover that?
Yeah, you basically need a beefy server, but I don't think it's an issue. I mean, the point of open sourcing is not that people will run it by themselves, but they can if they want. So and maybe they want to collaborate on this. So I think that's the main point here. So yeah, you should have like a server with large RAM and so on, but yeah, who cares?
Couldn't you just like open source just the like submitting part, like the minimal interface with the smart contract part? Like that's, I think that's the only thing that's like needs a, it doesn't have to, you don't have to like open source everything like a DB or indexer or whatever, because at the end of the day, the user submits the signed message to Rarible server and Rarible server submits it to the blockchain. So if we just like abstract out all the middle part and all we care about is our signed message somehow gets submitted to the blockchain, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we like set as the goal, can we like have like a very minimal library?
Yeah, okay. I think we can. We'll talk with Alex and Alexei about this.
Yeah. Just one thing. So like one thing you could do like regarding the narrative and open sourceness of things is like to have like at least a reference document or a standard. Like I don't remember like if you previously talked about making an ERC or something like that for lazy minting or not, but like I think like such document will even go beyond, but like yeah, I don't necessarily think that the having open source the whole backend is relevant, right? The point would be just to have an open source standard that other protocol can implement if they want.
That's interesting though. I think we tried to create the standards for royalties. There was a discussion like that. It's quite time consuming. If we can create a working group to work on the open sourcing the standard for lazy minting, for example, we might get all the inputs from the team to help draft the document. But yeah, then you need to actually go and advocate for that and for it to be accepted, and that's a lot of work.
Yeah,
I don't think it needs to be like standardized. It's like I think it's okay as like a single company like pushing for it, as long as the protocol itself is like openly accessible. Like basically what I'm like bringing up, like if that problem is solved, everything's gonna like I think everything's gonna just solve itself, because people will be like naturally incentivized to just keep using this, and the more people start using it, then it just naturally becomes the standard. Just like kind of, you know, like web browsers, like there was no like Internet Explorer or whatever, like whatever they started using became the standard. So like that's how I see Rebel protocol.
But you need to understand how to implement the standard, right?
Like, so my point is that like if a lot of people start using something and that thing is decentralized and open, then I think it's much easier to standardize, because people will be incentivized to standardize, and you don't have to like go out and like promote it all the time.
Yeah, kind of what happened with Compound and their like DAO design, or their DAO. You know, a lot of people are calling the Compound DAO like, you know, the standard, but you know, they never really like created an EIP. They just got adoption for it, and people started using it and just thought it was useful. So,
Yeah, my point was not exactly to have an EIP, but like a reference document where I go to, and given that like document, or I can basically implement lazy minting on my NFT marketplace.
yeah.
And it will serve as well of documentation for people like us using it, right? When I was wondering whether like each creator needs a valid signature, that would be, for example, the kind of things that would need to be part of the standard.
Well, yeah, this thing is probably needs just better documentation. I don't think people would exactly follow our standards for, okay, let's have this signature for every creator and things like that. But yeah, got it. So I don't know. Let's try to figure that together. So there was several ideas already, and everybody is kind of thinking that we need to do different things. So standardize, lazy minting, or open source the part that regards to minting, or be open sourced to be able to say that we are open sourced and that it's safe to build on top, that somebody can run the indexer themselves. Like, what are again the core points that we want to achieve here?
Well, my point is really simple. Like I said that like we don't even need indexer. All I think I need is like the way to talk to the smart contract, because right now to talk to the smart contract, everything needs to go through Rarible. And once like developers could submit to the smart contract using this like open library, then I think that would solve everything. So it doesn't even involve like storage or like indexing or whatever. Like indexing, people will actually keep using Rarible indexer and store, because that's where all the network effect is. But they still want like a offline way to deal with the smart contract.
Okay. Yeah, well, there isn't a library like that, and I think Evgeny is right here. It's exactly like the SDK, the way to interact with blockchain, because all the things that you need to talk to API in order to interact with blockchain are just exactly helper functions that we built, so it's easier. So if we can translate that to the front end, that might work.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. I can open source it right now. So, but there is like one or two functions implemented. So me and one of our developers working on it, but yeah, it's in progress.
Okay.
I will just push the button because
We solve problems here.
yeah,
That's for SDK, right?
yeah, sure.
Yeah. So what helper functions do we have? We have the helper function to generate token ID. It can be added to the SDK probably.
No, actually, there will be much higher order functions. So I can wait a second. I will share the screen and show what my thoughts are. I will make it public. Make public.
but I suppose it still talks to the Rarible backend, right? So if you want to
Sure.
raise the
Yeah.
point, it's
Yeah. Okay. I did it. So here is the link. Can I share the screen, Eric? Okay, sorry. I pushed the button and yeah, it was like swapped. So here is SDK. Let me open, maybe it's in, oh, no. SDK, here are some parts about an order only. So what we have here, we have many helper functions that do encoding, decoding of data. Here are some tests. Here is what we have finished, almost finished here is absurd order. It's a function that gives you a list of actions. There's an abstraction about the step that should be done to do some real action. So it does approve. For example, if you want to create an order, yeah, here is you pass this order. What it does, it checks the asset. Yeah, if it's, for example, ERC20, it approves your ERC20 tokens. Then it signs order using this Web3. Then it creates order inside the API. So, for example, if we go to sign order, here is the code that makes all signatures, encodes the data, it signs it, and all these helper functions here. So I want to make this SDK very easy to use. So, for example, Rarible.com frontend will use this absurd order function. It will get. We have tests here, so I can show how it can be used. For example, this is absurd order. Yeah. We give an order here, and it returns this absurd object that is action. And you can just run stages in it, 0, 1st, and 2nd, yeah, and you get result, and that's all you need to do. So it returns an action, and you can run it. We did this because we need actually some stages of executing an action. So to create an order, you should first check and approve asset, then you should sign, then you should post it to the server. And pretty the same flow can be, for example, for purchase. So for example, if you're purchasing with ERC20 tokens, you should first approve it, then run transaction. So the same will be, pretty the same will be for filling the order, I mean matching or purchase and accepting the bid. So it will be pretty the same. I hope you understand what I mean. If not, maybe you can ask me what we have here.
So are these each is each step involved like communicating with the Rarible server?
No, not each. Actually, wait a second. As you can see, here is approve. Approve. It executes approve transaction. Yeah. So it checks whether it needs to be approved or there is enough allowance. or maybe for ERC-721, it checks if it's already approved or calls set approval for all. So this step is for sending transaction, yeah, and checking the approval. This step is about signing a message, but this step, yeah, this step communicates with Rarible servers. So it just posts the signed order to Rarible, I mean to protocol API. And also we have generated, here is, oh yeah, here is dependencies. There's Rarible protocol API client. It was like generated, it works, but now it's 0.07 version. And when we finished almost every supported function feature, we will make it, I think, 1.1.0.0 or something like it. So here will be, for example, for an order, this one is main function, yeah. Here are many tests and encoding functions, helper. For example, here is what interesting can be see here. Yeah, here's for legacy orders. So legacy, it means that exchange v1, we call it legacy orders. So you can browse, check how it works. Here are ABIs and source and bytecode for some contracts. This is just an ABI for ERC-20 and ERC-71. But this also here are test contracts that we are. Also, what we have here, we have actually these tests run Ganache provider. So some of them deploy contracts and check if transactions execute. So for example, here you can see that Ganache provider is created and we execute these transactions on it in tests. So that's it. The next thing that we are doing right now is matching the orders. So it means that creating an order and matching the order, it means purchase and accepting a bid will be covered. So that's it for now.
So
I think,
help.
yeah, I think that covers the thing that interfaces the contracts and all this. All this is on GitHub already.
Does this include the encoding, like encoding part? Because like, so, you know, like when you're doing lazy minting, first you have to do token ID request to the server, and then you have to build it and then submit the stub to Rarible server to encode it, and then it gets back. So I'm trying to figure out a way to get rid of those two steps. So like if there's a way to just generate token ID on the client side, and if there's a way to encode it using like local JavaScript instead of making a request, because that's bad for you guys too, like just too much traffic.
Yeah, actually it does encode the data, but not for lazy minting. It encodes data for orders. When lazy minting is implemented here in SDK, it won't use server side for encoding, because Actually, it was done on backend because it was like the easiest way for us to help people encode it. Yeah, because we did not have SDK.
Yeah.
So now we started doing it, and yeah, it is there.
Okay.
But about this generating token ID thing, I think we will use backend for this because this is like it's a helper for generating sequences. So you can generate token ID on the client.
I can? Or
How?
can I?
No, you can't. You can't.
Oh,
Because no, you can, but you may face the issue when you will have the same token IDs.
well,
So
but as long as the developer is careful about it, that's okay, right? Like it doesn't hurt anybody.
actually, you can generate this by yourself. So if you are, if you want, you can. The only thing is you want to be able to control that you don't give the same token IDs
Right.
twice.
Okay. So there's is that part included in the source code that I can look at, like how I can generate?
Anything related to minting is not yet in SDK.
Okay.
So yeah, it will be included, but not now.
Okay.
Yeah, the next thing is purchase, and then we will go to minting, I think. We will think how we can do it. Maybe we can include, so if you want, we can, for example, you can pass a function to generate an ID, and you can implement it whatever you want. So, for example, if you need this.
One question on the token ID thing, like if I pick a random number, is there a high collision risk? Like how big can it be?
Yeah, you can do this, but the size of it is how long? It's 96 bits. So the risk is not high, I think. You can do it.
You can use increment if you remember all the token IDs that you used. You can just encode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there.
Yeah, but it has to be unique across all the lazy minting contract, right? Not only within your own collection.
No, it should be unique across, because the first part of the ID is your address, your wallet address.
Yeah, it should be unique for the minter.
Ah, then easy.
Yeah, then it's trivial, right? Then you can do whatever you want. Because there is no collusion as long as you keep track of the address, right? It's almost impossible to. Yeah, as long as you track.
Yes, I think that can be done. So I think it's a okay solution. Not ideal, but our is not ideal too. So it's okay.
Yeah, and even in the worst case, if there's a collision in the ID, the Rarible backend is just not gonna accept it because there's a collision, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it works.
You don't actually need to submit it to
So
backend, right? If you're minting that directly, you can even store that again on your own client side and create a sell order for that, and that would be totally client side lazy minting.
yeah, that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I wanted to like do everything locally, so I don't overload the Rarible server. Like imagine like if somebody wants to mint like millions of NFTs, and they have to like request token ID for everything, and that's madness.
All right, so did we get somewhere productive?
Yeah, I'll go through the source code and see if I can like play around with it.
Great.
Yeah, this was a really nice share. Thanks.
Well, we've got 10 minutes left. Any questions from anyone else?
Yeah, I have one question. So regarding the indexer, is that part open source or not?
Not yet.
Okay, and would it be possible to get at least a high-level overview of how that works?
Okay.
Yes. I think when documentation is done by us, it will be included there. And also, also there is a framework. It's already open sourced. It gathers and stores all log events in our database. So it's already open sourced, this part. And
Okay.
also we will include soon, I hope, the blockchain agnostic library that covers not only Ethereum, but Flow and maybe some other blockchains.
Got it. And could you please provide a link to that framework that you mentioned?
Yeah. I
Okay,
will.
that would be great.
I had another. Oh, go ahead.
There is not only this thing about log events. Yeah, I put it in the chat. There are some other tools that we use, but yeah, you can check it. There is a project, listener log. It's written in Kotlin. There are some tests to show how it works. So, for example, there is a test. It gathers ERC20 transfers. And for this, you have to implement the interface. I will put it to the chat now too. So here is a link to an object. It calls descriptor. I think that it's maybe difficult to understand what it does. But yeah, if you're profound in Kotlin and in software development, I think you can get the idea.
Got it. So basically, the whole repository is responsible for indexing or just this listener log part?
No, the open source is listener, but after that, how it works. So I can give a brief introduction. So what we have, we listen to new blocks on the Ethereum blockchain or any other blockchain. We use any method. For example, now we use pub/sub for Node. There's a call, so we can subscribe for new blocks. So we listen for them, and for every block, we gather logs that are interested to us. So, for example, we have a ERC20 indexer. It means it gathers all ERC20 logs. It stores in our database, and it calculates balances of all people who are transferring based on these logs. So this part is not open source now, but maybe so it is partly, again, it is partly open sourced, but not fully.
Got it. And how do you handle block reorgs?
Reverts?
Reorganizations of the blocks.
Reorgs. Yeah, actually, this is done in the repository that I gave you.
Oh,
So there is a status, there is a field status in object log event, and we check if the block was reverted and so on, and we mark the logs as reverted if this happens. Yeah, so
Got
it is implemented there.
okay, got it. Thanks.
Can I just ask you a quick question? I heard that you guys are planning on providing an API for creating a like custom collection.
Yeah, we finished implemented token factories. There is a PR on our protocol contracts repository. So I think on the next week, I will deploy this token factories. So I first need to check this PR, and then I think I will deploy these factories. So you will be able to deploy these tokens by invoking the factory. That's it. So it will be easy.
So you have to pay yourself, right? Like it's not like lazy minting.
No, it's not lazy minting. So yeah, you should execute a transaction.
Yeah.
But as long as it uses proxies, it will be like, I don't know, 300,000 gas about. So not very much. It will be. It won't be like 3 million gas for the collection, but
It's basically the same cost as minting. So like
yeah.
50.
So you don't have to write Solidity or anything. You just like call an API and you pay for it, and then it just creates a contract and returns the address.
No, you will not call an API, but yeah, calling the function in Ethereum, maybe by using MetaMask and the Etherscan. So it will be possible using this for sure.
Okay. I guess I'm just wondering like how accessible this would be. Like will people still need to like clone a GitHub repo and then like run like hard hat and stuff like that, or would it be just like a method call?
No.
The same as Gnosis basically does. So you're calling the factory call, just deploy a new collection, you submit the name of the new collection, all the description into the fields on Etherscan, and you click submit and the collection is done. Not gone, but came.
Can all that be done in like a single JavaScript function?
If it uses Web3, then for sure.
Okay.
So.
All right, cool. So just doing a time check. We're basically out of time. But yeah, good discussion. I guess there was some progress made on some fronts. So I'm glad we had this discussion.
Time check. What time is it? Uh-oh, it's in.
Time to go.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you
thanks,
so
guys.
much. Yeah, thank you. I'll check out the GitHub repo and reach out if I have questions.
Yeah. Let me know if you find anything or any questions.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good weekend, everyone.
Thank you so much,
Bye.
guys. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.